making me the second speaker, because it was such a joy to listen to Shashi. It's joy to see the whole journey and map of the debate that is going on with regard to digitalization, with regard to how information will transform to knowledge and will transform to the kind of wisdom that really all of us need. I'm also going to share some thoughts with some frameworks that might be useful for those of us who are in this journey together for a better world. I want to start off first for reminding all of us that we are citizens of the universe, that this bigger galaxy, which we must always feel part of. And if you feel that, and you feel a connectivity to infinity, a connectivity to a whole lot of issues and areas that are extremely important in life. And then infinity is a very important area of thinking, because it opens up the mind to always never be trapped in a hole, where someone has determined you should be. You are liberated. The second thing I like to remind people also, that we are all children of Mother Earth. That Mother Earth itself is something that is our home, that is our habitat, and that we share it. We share it with all kinds of things. We share Mother Earth with different kinds of living things. We share with different kinds of minerals, and it's a very, very, you can say, complex place, which of course sadly has been divided up into nations and places, and leading to fights and wars and so on. But we remember that this is Mother Earth, this is our home, and this is what we inhabit, and that all of us are citizens of this Mother Earth. Then we begin to view issues like climate, issues like global change that we want to make in areas of justice, that we have, criminals very often running the world, and blatantly so, and even honored and made into heroes. And then we've seen how in history itself they get statues built for them that actually only reflect very often their contribution to acts of criminality and violence in the history of humankind, and the history of Mother Earth. And the history of Mother Earth itself, for those of us, like I had my passion in geography, and I saw this relationship of us sharing the globe with everyone else, and how the climate too was part of our home, and it's a different way of thinking than just thinking and being trapped in sort of nationalism and borders, and which all have been created through very often violence, and sometimes to defend yourself, sometimes to enlarge yourself in history. And that's the kind of history we are taught, and we are thought that that's the norm, that's the normal thing. And the third thing I like to say, brothers and sisters, to all of us, that all of us are related, that we have this connectivity as humans. And when you talk about a brother and sister, you recognize our connectivity, our fact that when I say that we are all one. That we breathe one air, we rise from one ocean, the children cry is very universal, our laughter is the same, and when you begin to look at those kinds of things, we remember we are all one. There may be different kinds of appearances that we have. And one of my favorite quotes that I have in my office is one by Nelson Mandela, and I share it with everybody who comes to my place, so that they'll take back that. And that says, it says that our world is not divided by race, color, gender, or religion. Our world is divided into wise people and fools. Wise people and fools. And fools divide themselves by race, color, gender, and religion. Yeah? And there was a beautiful way by which he put how we've created these differences, and we have, conceptualized them, give them a body, and then begin to use those kinds of things for power, yeah, for generating power that will give them control over what they want to be done, and in ways that they can benefit. Yeah? Gandhi brought for us also something very special, and one of the very essential elements, and I think Shishi talked about it also, that it was just not thoughts. It's how you get feelings and thoughts into actions, and actions that make change. And this is extremely important, that little cycle. And the cycle is like a spinning wheels, of the simplicity of power, of how you can thread the wheel, and the wheel gives you, the amazing power of action, of movement and momentum, that is extremely important, that leads very often to what somebody has described as tipping points, and more people who are just doing little things in little places, and saying, well, I'm just doing a little thing. But if everybody does the little things in little places, that things transforms into major tipping points, that can be very, very transformational. That's why the nine, so I may describe the fellows. So was it 9 or 7? I can't remember now. Yeah, the fellows that are here are those igniters, those people who will be part of the chain, and with them, as the facilitator stated, I mean, they will multiply and multiply, and when you multiply, you also accelerate, because particularly when you multiply by training people, or by sharing with people, the spirit of creating more people to share those kinds of views through your wisdom and your action. Yeah, both of them are important. The most powerful thing ever that I learned about conscience, which gave me a framework that I could share and build on in my own journey over the last 60 years of activism, from when I was the president of the Students' Union, at that time, the only university we had, and that was over 60 years ago. And I was president of the Students' Union. I was inspired by what people were sharing, and attribute to Mahatma Gandhi, and that were his 7 sins. And the 7 sins gave a vision that reminded us of nearly everything that mattered at that time, and made us wanting to capture that, to make that part of our responsibility. And very often you need something strong to make that happen. We have to recognize that, our brain has actually got 3 systems operating there. And the first system is the automatic system. And that's where things like fear, hunger, sex, all those kinds of things can envelop people, and get them completely out of control. There's a kind of what they call the automatic brain, and very often that has to be disciplined, and that has to be restrained and controlled, and you've got to have that kind of awareness. So there are things that I have to be very careful about. Yeah, the second brain is the second system. There is the emotional brain. And the emotional brain is one where people, the feeling of goodness, the feeling of this, the feeling of badness, the feeling this, and you make people feel, and you manipulate feelings and emotions of people. You are being this, and you are being that. And that play on emotion, of course, is one of the big industries of capitalism, where you want to make people buy things that they don't really need with money that they don't have. But you create a whole culture of consumerism where we are we are led by not by need, as Gandhi said, but by greed, because someone wants to make money out of you. Yeah, if they sell you a pencil for $10, you say, "Well, it's too expensive." But if they say buy 2 and 3, but actually you're paying more, but because one is free, I mean, they play on your emotion, and you suddenly buy something, and you can be fooled into thinking that you're getting so-called bargain, in that. And the third system in the brain is that is what is called the thinking brain, and that's the part where you analyze, you begin to feel things, and you can see the logics that are behind, you can see the motives of people, you can see exactly what is the configuration, what is missing in that whole system. This thinking brain is the kind that advertisers don't like, politicians don't like, bigots don't like, racists don't like, because you think, and one of the great things about this fellowship, that all the three personalities that we had all had that real power of the ways of thinking and expressing that was transformational, and each of them made impact in their own way. Gandhi's 7 sins are always worthy of sharing, and they are, in a way, what I would call the framework that we could all use, and I will share with them a little later. The maybe I'll share them now. Because 7 is a very special number also, as you know. Many things in life also revolve around the number 7, sometimes the number 5. The very, very powerful power of numbers. He said first, politics without principles. Something that a kind of sin that dominates the world at the moment. And if you look at the way politicians who win are very often running countries. Wealth without work, where they really make money of that. Enjoyment without conscience, not thinking about your what the impact is, and what are you doing, how you're exploiting life. Knowledge without character, knowledge without character. Business without morality, business without morality. Science without humanity. Religion without compassion. Because you very often find now religions become like Coca-Cola versus Pepsi's Cola, and then people want to compete and talk about our religion is more and yours is less, and this is so and this is so, and begin to promote the bigots and the racists, and take over very often the spiritual movements, and make them into cults, and make them into areas that they will dominate. So these 7 sins were very inspirational to me as a young person, in having a bigger framework where, if I wanted to make a better world, when I took over the world consumer movement and transformed it from just buying products, but also looking not just a value for money, but value for people and value for the environment, to have that little bigger picture. They were wonderful guidance. I also saw that as we grew, there were other things that now became also important. You can say new kinds of sins that could be added, and I built up 4 more that I thought will be useful for our generation that has grown up since World War II, since the different stages that we have gone on over the last century. Yeah, one was rights, the whole notion of rights. And I said, rights without responsibilities would be a sin. If you just talk about, I'm right, the law must protect me. But where is your responsibility? What is the impact this is having? As people say, the right to swing my arm ends where the other person's nose begins. Yeah? But there must be, with rights also, a concern about responsibilities, because your so-called right, is actually diminishing, destroying somebody else in that. So rights without responsibility, and then power, because we have new systems with so-called democracy where power is transformed. We have multiple systems of supposedly, parliament and judiciary and civil society and so on, but very often accountability systems polluted, corrupted and destroyed. So it's so important to say power and accountability. And there must be accountability systems, and accountability systems that not only also in the traditional judiciary form, but also in terms of new concerns. And India was actually a leader, one of the great judges that whom I had the pleasure of meeting, took action that the impact of abuse of power can be extended to even the environment. Yeah? That no one speaks on behalf of the river, but now you can make the river a person, and use that, and then the defense of the river being polluted, and then the accountability would then be also to the future, that you whatever you're doing may impact. So the issues relating to climate, which is already destroying so much now, and how it's going to be impacting on the future. So accountability systems that make sure that Mother Earth or even the universe are dealt with in systems where we can see accountability to power. Otherwise, you have major military powers who talk about human rights, but who are bombing and killing hundreds, thousands, millions of people through their own violent weapons, and and the way in which they even destroy places to destroying their living systems completely. And then they complain about refugees coming to their continents, when in fact the core reason why these things are happening is that they've destroyed living systems in different parts of the world, and people then this is the payback. The people come there and go there. The way, in fact, they used to take over the whole world and destroy, and this is like a karma, that is also happening. The 10th one was development without sustainability, and the idea that the word development has become something. The world must develop, and the third world countries, the descriptions was undeveloped, or developing, when I see some of them were having been destroyed and made sick, by the powers, the imperial powers and colonial governments and so on. But this ridiculous language, of just development. And so the idea of development without sustainability, that is beginning to think in terms of the way in which economic and social systems are operated to make a better life for everybody. And now you have all this coming back to what is called circular economies, where people help each other. It's becoming back to shared economies where people share things with each other. You have systems where if you have something, well, you give to somebody, some points are earned by you in a central system, and then you can use the points again to make something else. So whole new ways and ideas, of development are being thought of, and Gandhi himself was, very much into asking us to rethink about this. And the last, the 11th one was laws, and people always say, "Oh, we must have laws," but there's a huge difference between laws and justice. And we have seen in countries where laws are designed to discriminate, they actually bigotry centered, they are race centered, or they are a certain class centered, or they are self-country centered, in the place. One law for things in my country, another law for the rest of the world. I mean, we can kill you, screw you, and do whatever we want with you. The rest of the world doesn't deserve. There's no talk about human rights. So that's nothing. Yeah. Whether we make it into a desert, kill all the people, children dying, nothing. But at home, we have got laws, about this. So these 11 sins, I think, was something that are worth remembering, worth thinking about. One of the things that also the previous speaker, Shashi, spoke about is Gandhi's own, the concept of conscience, and compassion. They mean nothing if they are not transformed into action. And one of the great inspirations was how he moved to make those things happen, through his own actions. And he took frameworks, as was mentioned on Satyagraha, and the whole range of things that were so specially done. There was a great writer, he passed away, and he was a dear friend. I had occasions to meet with him, named Gene Sharp. And he actually was so inspired by Gandhi's work that he did a 3-volume book on non-violent methods to peace. And it was a fantastic thing. And one of the things he listed out, that there were 198 methods that he could at that time, gather, that were inspired by the kinds of things that Gandhi had proposed and suggested. And he documented these things from history, from all over the history, and each of the methods is described by an article which tells you the context in which, because very often different kinds of methods need to operate at different kinds of contexts, and different kinds of places need different kinds of action. Different kinds of people may want to do different kinds of things. But he gives you a menu, a beautiful menu of a whole choice of these 198. It became one of the things that when people say, yeah, all those things are good, your vision, but what do we do? What do we do? Why I said, I'll share 2 things with you. One, I mean, you just go to UNESCO and you can, download the 99 ways of making peace. And making peace is peace with yourself, peace with other people also, and peace with the environment. All these things, and there are 99 methods of exactly little things that you can do. 99 of them. I said, take this, do it. Yeah, and don't say about what you are doing about it. There are lots of people all over the world doing it, and one day the tipping point will come if we continue. More of the people continue. And then I said, I want to share another thing with you, because I changed the Gene Sharp's thing, and I decided to call it Weapons of Mass Transformation. And I gave that kind of special title just to show that we have to act. I mean, we have got to have tools that we too can go and make the kind of change that we want. And I, at that time, this 15, 20 years ago, the United States had created a document that was called the Project for a New American Century, because Russia, the USSR had broken up, and suddenly a whole new world had emerged in which they became the dominating power. Yeah, and then out of that, they are think tanks, as they call them, institutions, develop a kind of project which they call the Project for a New American Century. Yeah, the United States will be right up the top. So I decided to give this another title, the Project for a New People's Century. Yeah, a new people's century, where we can also begin to start doing things. There are people now who have taken those 198. That's 99 times 2. UNESCO has the 99 one, and from Gandhi's experience and inspiration, there are those 109. Someone has actually taken them to over 250, added new kinds of things, because now with the digital world, with capitalism, surveillance, you have again a new kind of battle with new kinds of media that again will have to be dealt with, and so these are some of the tools that are there. For compassion, there's a whole global movement now on the Charter of Compassion, and the Charter of Compassion is a document that has generated a whole lot of things. I mean, one of the fundamental things in that charter is the golden rule: treat other people that you would like, how you would like to be treated. And people have compiled this, from each of the different spiritualities. And each of the spiritualities has statements that relate to this. And I think drawing off from different, for example, like in Buddhism, say, treat all creatures as you would like to be treated. Yeah? And in Islam, no one of you is a believer until you desire for your neighbor that which you desire for yourself. Yeah? In Hinduism, this is the essence of morality. Do not do to others which, if done to you, would cause you pain. Yeah? And I can share with a whole range of other communities where this golden rule has been done. So the Charter of Compassion again is a global movement. They have a beautiful charter itself that you can look at, read, become part of. You can join a global campaign that shares. I would like to end by just reminding ourselves that if you want to make change, you can't make change if you start with yourself. The very famous thing that Gandhi himself said: you must be the change you want to see. He has said some very, 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 very special things. But this was one of the things that was so important. And if you are to make change, taking care of yourself is also very important. And we can see very often people doing good, not also thinking about themselves, and having a framework for your own personal. And I've developed these, like the 7 chakras, 7 chakras of a simple and good life. And I like to share that with you as a concluding these 7 ideas. So one is breathing. Yeah. The world has forgotten, very often to do also deep breathing. And, many of our traditions of yoga and, Tai Chi, Chinese, all these things were wonderful ways in which to make sure that your lung and your oxygenation system is working. You allow that to go weak, it disrupts the whole of your body systems. And now the West, after having seen all the rotten things that capitalism and all this mass consumption is going back to these simple things that are so important for life. The second thing is we are destroying our body by the way what we eat and how we eat. And the biggest element that has disappeared is that we have forgotten how to munch our food. That is, chew your food until it disappears in your mouth. And if you do that, all the goodness of the food goes into your body very quickly. Your hunger is eliminated very easily. The present system of fast foods, and swallowing it, means that they remain in your stomach for a long time and they don't go back, and you still continue to feel hungry, and then you take your second burger, and your third this and whatever it is, and so our body systems have been destroyed by fast food, fast eating, with the whole system that we have got. And with that, you have seen a tremendous destruction and a poisoning also of our system. So munching, chew the food in your mouth until it disappears, it really makes you feel very well and filled up. And the third is simple things like walking, because now transportation systems, the the motor car came, and everything else, and people forgot of the simple things that we began our lives. Our mobility system was our walking systems, and the walking systems had a certain element throughout our body. So very, very simple elements. Walk when you have got a chance to, go to 100 meters away because there's something going on. Have a walk there, and then of course, I mean, even now the cycling circle, I'm always reminded of Gandhi's one wheel also, about how that one wheel is also the way in which a bicycle has created us a very ecosystem friendly way in which we can move, but destroyed again by oil and energy and destruction of the air and the environment. The fourth thing is smiling and laughing and having that happiness. We've reached a state very often that we forget the power of humor, the power of looking, the power of that kind of conviviality, that we share, to the extent that the world had to organize laughter clubs. And I think some of you in India also will be familiar of how some of them even began there, where people actually are called in and then you learn how to laugh, people have to be taught because they've stopped that. I mean, as kids, they used to laugh, but after that, that whole culture of laughing was not that. And what a beautiful thing it does to your body. And then the word listening, because too often, I mean, we have concept of listening that's only related to the ear, but actually the word listen in Chinese has three characters. One character is the ear, the other character is the eye, and the third one is your heart. So real listening, the Chinese word ting, is actually listening with your ears, eyes, and heart. And when you do that, then it reaches your conscience, it reaches your compassion, and you really feel in a different kind of way. The sixth one is lifelong learning. And that is that the world and our education system is not that we have finished our primary school, that's it, that's secondary school. Our whole culture and our whole way in which we operate, we should constantly be learning. We learn from our children amazing things because they have a certain, what is called the innocence, and they see things completely in a different way. And I was told once by my daughter, when I said, we are going to buy a color TV, we've got black and white before. No more now, we're going to have color. You know what my daughter told me? Daddy, aren't black and white also colors? I shut up, because they saw things in a completely different way, and you begin to learn. We learn from the way the ants are moving, the way the birds are flying. You every place that you can see as you walk through the forest, as you walk through the streets, it's learning, because something that is the total. And the last thing is something, again, a very powerful word is empathy. And the word empathy is, again, in a way reflected to the golden rule, but it also is, in a single word, describes the caring world that we want. So, brothers and sisters, I wish all the fellows a great journey forward. Thank you so much, Ned, for creating this network. I hope it will proliferate, it will accelerate, and more. I'm always there. I am very enthusiastic, very passionate about these kinds of matters, and every one of you is welcome always to get in touch with me. Remember, I always tell people that make the whole universe your garden, and make the whole of the if you want to grow, and then if you want to learn, make the whole of the universe also your school of learning, and if you do that, your mindset, your linkages and so on would have that universality, that infinity, that power to make the world a better place. Thank you very much, and Assalamu alaikum, peace be on all of you, and look forward to the journey together. Thank you.